Welcome to Between Sundays. I'm Tyler, and you don't mess with Persia. Today, we're discussing power and playing by the rules of the world. But before we drink the bitter cup, now that they don't know what they're asking, let's hide behind our mother's skirt with our favorite co-hosts, Maron and Barry. Good day, guys.
Good day.
Good day.
How are you guys? Good to see you.
I have anxiety doing these now because I feel like
We're going to pounce on you for every little mistake.
Yeah, I'm going to mess it up. And
That one was fine.
yeah, it was.
You mean like
nailed it.
Okay, all right.
Sometimes I-
very rarely have
don't-
you like biffed it so badly
You
that
have to
we've had to
redo it.
re-record it.
Yeah.
But it happens.
But
Very rarely.
I don't know. There's something without the headphones that just,
yeah.
I just get
It
in my
still
head.
feels weird.
Yeah, naked and
For
afraid.
example, I used to like not care if my hair wasn't that great because I was just going to have headphones on anyway, you know? But now, in the absence of headphones, every girl has to be in place. It's
Every
Curl.
Oh, I thought you said every girl. I
every
was like, you
curl
call your-
has to be in its
Yeah, I get it.
right place because
Speaking
the
of which-
headphones covered a multitude of sins.
You got to get on YouTube to watch us. Not you, but friends of the pod. Get on YouTube to watch us. Grace Church IN, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, point of order.
Oh,
Very important. We're going to dig into Matthew 20 for part 4 of our Matthew series. Between Jesus and his disciples, that will cover week 1 of part 4 of our Matthew series called Follow Me. You can access that series as well as all of the prior parts on the new Grace Church app, so go download that. But first, guys, what's new? What's happening?
I've got something. Do you want to start?
Sure.
Eager to navigate the fun.
I was eager to navigate the fun this weekend. It was Jed's
Super Bowl.
birthday.
Oh,
Jed's
yeah.
birthday. Happy birthday.
You know
Jed.
about this life. Jed was born on his mom's birthday. So it was Jed's birthday, but it was his mom's 70th birthday.
Ooh, that's a big one.
So really the emphasis, the focus, it had to be on mom this year.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we met her for dinner. They live in Chicago, mind you. And so we drove up to Crown Point, Indiana
Oh, yeah.
for dinner.
Yeah.
And then drove
Where'd you
home.
guys go? Ponderosa?
Basically, we
Cracker Barrel?
We went to
the side of the
Texas
highway?
Roadhouse,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was lovely. And Jed's sister came down from the South Bend area.
That's
and
fun. Yeah,
I
you
saw
guys.
some pictures.
yeah,
What were you guys doing, dressed up as?
I did not know there was a theme. I did not know. I arrived with my family around 4:00. It was a very early dinner, and I walked into like where the waiting area where they're waiting on our table or whatever.
Yeah.
And my father-in-law, also in his 70s, had these like circle like hippie glasses and like a peace
Oh,
necklace.
the 70s.
Uh-huh.
And no one told me that there was a theme.
You would've-
And so I just was like,
Yeah, you like a good thing.
Dad? Like,
Yeah.
this is a new look for you. But no, my sister-in-law had bought like party favors. And so everybody got decked out in flowers in their hair and
Except
circle
the
hippie
Gaffrins.
glasses. Very Gaffrin core, like to the
Yeah.
extreme.
Yeah.
my-
Except you guys weren't dressed up.
No, we
They put the
put it like
they put
they
the
put it on the
accessories
table.
I see.
So everybody
I
got
see.
to wear
so
a little
you got to wear
something.
something you
Yes.
just didn't come prepared.
Yes,
I
my
understand.
husband's parents met during the Jesus movement of the 60s, 70s, around there. And so, yeah, that
Very,
hippie
very
spirit
hippie spirited.
lives
Yes.
on.
Yes. Very
lives
Tom
on.
Bombadil.
So
vibes.
Tom Bombadil. Yeah. They're big Lord of the Rings fans,
Oh.
too. So that was our fun. It was Jed's birthday weekend, mother-in-law's birthday, and we got to go on a mini road trip,
Yeah.
which I told Jed when we got home. They're always great. Our
You
family
love,
road trips.
you love road trips.
I really do. But the best part about it this time around was how often throughout the week I would hear mostly Jaden, a little bit Desi, but mostly Jaden say, "We get to go on a road trip this weekend."
Oh, family road
Like,
trip.
Do my adult kids look forward to spending
Clearly.
Clearly they
trapped
do.
time in the car? Of course they do, because it's always a good time. Good
Yeah.
music. We're like, between road trips, we collect new music.
To
So
play on
then
the
we're
next road
like
trip, yeah.
really excited to introduce our family to the new songs we've been into. And
So it wasn't like, this is Jed's birthday road trip. We're going to listen to what Jed
never
wants to listen to.
in a million years.
Not how they.
I don't
how
even
they
think
roll.
Jed would want that. Like, it's just too much fun doing it the way we did. And then we come up with different variations of this. We call them themes or whatever. We're gamifying it. You would love it.
Cool.
But Shaden's idea was to have the person next to you, basically, I would choose for you. Tyler, I am curious to know, what's your all-time favorite Ryan Adams song? And then, of course, the anguish of like, how could I pick just one? So that kept happening around the car.
Okay.
Desi, I want to know what your favorite
And then you would play it?
Radiohead song is. Yes.
Okay.
And then they play it, and it's like, oh, that's your favorite one? Like, it was good. It was fun.
You should do that, but like with completely random, like Maron, I'm curious to know what your favorite Gloria Estefan song.
Rhythm is going to get you. What else is there? It was really fun.
Yeah.
I just told Jed, we need to like take this little moment in our family history and put it in a box and save it forever because who gets this? Who gets
Seriously.
Yeah.
kids that are excited to go on road trips with their parents?
Yeah. That's cool.
Very cool.
Did you take your new car? Is that the
We
new
did.
road trip car?
We did take the new road trip car.
How was it?
Excellent.
No gas?
My seat was warm. It was fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Great.
Nice.
Barry, what's new with you?
Well, I mentioned this. You guys know this already, but I am about to take my nerdiness to a new level because
But you didn't expect that to come out of my mouth.
Well, you probably did expect that to come out of my mouth because I always get nerdier. I never get nerdy less. So I actually it started because of a Grace Church thing for staff. We are doing this thing where my dad, Destiny Work, his company Destiny Works, they're coming in and trialing a new component of their work, doing they call it the vitality journey, and it's kind of helping to guide you through some self-reflection on where your life is in certain areas. Kind of the stuff I often do on my personal retreats. But anyway, we did like an evaluation of staff, and the one thing that I ranked myself relatively low on was like relationships, and and the specific area is like I don't have like a bunch of new friendships that I'm developing right now. I've got some comfortable people that are close and family, and that's kind of it. And but I want to have some new relationships. And at the same time, Liv has like some of her really close friends, and they all have, boyfriends, fiancés, husbands. And I was like, you know what? I would love to get to know the men that are connected to Liv's best friends. And so that combined with a couple other guys from the theater community, and I just asked them to get together and play Dungeons and Dragons. And they're all very excited about it. And so, so I am going to be a dungeon master starting Friday night.
So
I'm
you're
going
in
to start.
charge.
I feel like that needs some clarification.
Oh, I will totally clarify. But this is by far the nerdiest thing I think I've ever done in my life.
Did you
So-
grow up playing this game?
No, I've never played it before.
Wow.
So I'm familiar with it, but I've never actually played it.
Okay, I don't think I realized that.
Yeah. So this is brand new for
Have
me.
you ever played it?
No.
So, all right. For anyone who doesn't know what Dungeons and Dragons is, really briefly, what it is, it's basically like grown up pretend with rules. So you just play pretend. The dungeon master creates a world, a scenario, problem, whatever, and all the players you've played, players basically they have their own character, their own backstory, and they just decide what to do. And so, I might, as a dungeon master, I might say, all right, the party's walking down the street and suddenly a gang of goblins jumps out and ambushes you. And, they're armed to the teeth with this, this, and this. What do you want to do?
What do you want to do?
And so then the party can decide literally anything that you could possibly come up with. I shoot my bow and arrow at the lead goblin.
Run away.
I shout with my war cry to try to scare them off. I do something crazy to make them think that I'm not worth whatever they come up with. And then depending on how difficult or easy that thing is, I will tell them, okay, roll for a dexterity check. If you want to jump across the bridge, roll a die, and it'll tell you what your number is for dexterity. And then it'll
It's all
determine.
based on dice.
It's all based on dice.
I was
and
going to
chance.
ask, are there cards involved?
No cards.
Is there a board?
There can be. You can have like
don't have
a little map with little characters, so you can kind of keep track of where
Are
everybody
these
is.
characters that you like paint?
Some people do, yeah. Like you can get really, really
How
into this.
deep into this are you going to go?
For now, I'm just keeping things relatively simple. I've made a few maps to kind of cover the basics, but we have a lot of learning ahead of us. Let's just say that. So, but I've got a couple of the guys have been really, really into D&D, and so like one of the guys that's going to be playing, he has an entire bin full of miniatures and maps and all kinds of stuff. So that's going to get us started on the right foot.
Is it
So-
the kind of thing that you have to like leave in place? Like
No.
you have a table, like you have a table.
I have a table.
Your table. You have a game table
Yes.
where you play the kind of games that like take so
Yeah.
The
long,
whole
Yeah.
table. Yeah.
but like multiple days.
Right.
Oh,
More.
this could take months.
This could take years. Some people play the same campaign with the same characters for years. We'll be doing it like
Yeah.
every other week.
You
We'll get
don't have
together.
to. I mean, you could do
But-
just a couple hours or whatever. But
Yeah. So like imagine like a few hours every couple of weeks. That's kind of what, and the story will just continue as we go.
Will we get updates on the
Yeah,
story?
I
If
love
you
it.
wanna
I would
know,
wish-
yeah.
My only wish is that you would have piloted it here on Between Sundays.
Oh, my word.
I think we
between
should
the two of
totally
us,
do a
and
mini.
you do it,
Dude,
Dungeon
that would be
Master.
so. People
pilot
would,
it. We'll
I think
test
people
it.
would totally tune in for that.
You could be Sir
Nope.
Whiskerton Bumblegut, the half orc bard.
no.
Anyway, so I'm having a blast getting ready for this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And what's so fun for me is, and the reason why I wanted to be Dungeon Master and not just a player is because I get to create this entire world. I've got like massive backstory and different locations and all the, and
Yeah,
I've
this is
got-
right up your alley.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's your version of fun.
Yes, it is my version of fun. It is all about
Some people go on road
creativity
trips.
That's right.
and listen to music, and some people create entire universes to be shared for the amusement of others. Yeah.
Small but encouraging woohoo.
But here's what's crazy is how many people, since I've kind of started this, I've discovered are into D&D. Like I bet if we
Yeah,
got
a lot of
all the
people.
D&D enthusiasts at Grace together, we could
Change
fill
the world.
room 111. Yeah. I didn't want to get too grandiose. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a sizable number, but not like that
Yeah,
many
yeah,
people.
yeah.
But anyway, I doubt there's anybody who still is like riding the vibes of the Satanic Panic from the 1980s, right? Of like,
this is-
like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
It's just all it is just
It
pretend.
was vilified when I was a
I
kid.
know. I mean, because people didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And it was all
But
like,
so were the Smurfs.
right.
Vilified when
Yeah.
I was a
There's
kid.
probably a Smurfs D&D.
No.
There probably is.
There probably is. There's a
to just
they call
double
it an
down
RPG
on the.
and a role playing game.
Okay.
There's
Yeah,
probably
and
there's
it's all
role playing
kids
games
that
for all
grew up
kinds
like
of
us
things.
that are just pushing back hard. against
It was kind of a rebellious
their
subculture.
oppressive upbringing.
You saw Stranger Things? That they're playing D&D. That's the game that they're playing.
Oh, okay. No, I stopped when the rats started exploding. Whatever with season 2.
Spoiler alert!
Come on,
Get past
sheesh.
it. Couldn't get past that.
For what it's worth, I don't even remember
Too
that.
much.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what you're talking about.
Stopped watching.
Anyway, I'm very excited.
Great.
So
Yeah, I can't wait to
Tyler
hear how
knows,
that goes.
knows how fun the game can be. So
This is a game I don't think I've ever laughed harder than when I've been playing this game,
Oh,
because it's mostly like it's all imaginative and it's completely insane and people
That's
say
hard
the
to
funniest
believe.
things.
I have seen you I've seen you laugh so hard. I've seen you nearly burst a lung
Yeah.
laughing at Amy Christie.
Oh, yeah.
playing games.
I mean, I might explode if she played D&D with me.
yeah, I think maybe we need to do a one shot with all the pastors someday. Simplified version. We
Yeah.
can make it happen.
I think the hardest I've ever seen you laugh was playing a board game with Amy Christie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On
it's
our
the
pastor's
best.
strategic retreat.
Brings people together. Did you guys watch the Super Bowl? That just happened.
I did.
I
Very
did
ju-
not.
Okay.
I didn't care. I knew that any like famous or groundbreaking commercials would be on YouTube the next day.
You picked a good game
I saw
not to
clips
watch.
of the halftime show. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't really miss. I didn't feel like I was missing much. So
Yeah.
sorry. I know that's very
No,
un-American of me.
it's fine.
No,
if you
it's
live
just
in
like
Indianapolis,
what did you eat? Like
Well, yeah.
you know I don't care about football, but I care very much about football food.
what did you eat?
I made the best queso of my life. Yes. So we were invited to Steven, he's on staff here. We were invited to Steven's house, Jed and I, and the kids. Both kids went with us too.
Oh, good.
Because I make them watch one football game a year, one to honor their father. But the food was amazing. We had pulled pork nachos, like a nacho bar, and I brought queso, I brought black
Yeah.
salsa.
Nice.
And it was
Super
lovely.
Bowl, yeah, it's just not about the game. It's about the party.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about the experience.
Exactly. Yeah. And the food was so good.
Yeah.
What about you?
I did watch it. I feel like I grew up with, the Peyton Manning, Indianapolis Colts, the Tom Brady, New England Patriots. So anytime the New England Patriots are presented with an opportunity to be champions or win something, I am vehemently against
Yes.
it.
Yes.
My kids did not grow up with that
Oh, no.
feeling. And so Milo was rooting for the Patriots.
Oh my
no.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh,
He almost got
no.
kicked out.
Tyler, your boys.
I know.
They're going
I can't
adrift.
stand it.
Raise up a child, Tyler, in the way that they
can't.
should go.
I
Did
don't
you
know what
tell
to
him
do.
about the underinflation of the footballs? Did
I
you
showed.
tell him?
I made.
Deflategate?
Oh my goodness.
Did you tell him?
I haven't told you guys this. I made him watch the entire AFC Championship game from 2007 when the Indianapolis Colts beat the New England Patriots. I made him watch it, all 3 hours of it.
That and Lord of the Rings. Fellowship
Yeah,
of
it
the
was a
Ring.
great weekend.
Wow.
He wanted to watch Lord of the Rings, so
Why did he?
I think because of your sermon.
Tom
Get out.
Bombadil.
He
Because
was.
all the kids were in there
Oh,
because
yeah.
they closed the hallway for
Yeah, yeah,
open
yeah.
house and baptisms.
So he's like, I
And so
want to
he
hear.
was sitting in there and he was like, "Can we watch the movie with that guy in it?"
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I said, "Well,
explained-
that guy is not in it."
They made a very specific
Yeah.
choice not to put
Yeah.
him in.
So
also,
we
that was
watched
kind of
it.
the point of Barry's open illustration. So
We watched the whole part one, first movie.
Yeah.
And he liked it. He was scared
sure.
through parts of it,
Yeah.
but
How old is he?
he's 8. So he tried to pull the move where he was like something would happen and he tried to get me, he'd ask me to spoil the rest of it. He's like,
Yeah, yeah.
"Does that guy die?"
Yes. I need
No,
that.
I'm not telling you if he dies. You're just going to have to watch. And he's like, "Okay.
It's very intense.
Are you as scared as me?" You know, yeah, it is intense for an 8-year-old, but.
It's intense.
And he came out of his
for
room.
me.
He went to bed that night and came out of his room a couple times because
Oh,
Because orcs.
no, it wasn't the orcs.
was
It
the
was
eye of Sauron.
it was
fixed?
Gollum.
Oh.
Yeah, he was creeped out by Gollum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
not
that's
great.
Gollum's not even really in that movie much. He's just one little scene.
that's
At the
why.
end,
That's
right?
why
Just
he.
the spooky eyes.
Yeah, just his glowing eyes in the
Yeah.
cave and stuff.
Wow.
Also, Milo started basketball this
Ah.
past weekend, and I'm glad the sermon that we're going to talk about in a moment happened when it did because I find myself sitting on the bleachers, wanting to walk out onto the court and exert control of the game and him.
This is how dads become coaches.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't want to coach anyone
You're
else's kids.
becoming a coach.
He's 8 years old, so the game should just be fun. He's on a team with his best friend, so that should be enough. But I find myself tense at these games. They scored 11 points, which is like the most boring thing ever. 11 points. And
Okay.
he scored 9 of them.
Wow.
Whoa.
All
right.
So he's doing well. I just want to walk out there and help his teammates. So I just want him to go out there and assert dominance and control and take over. And so I went to church and learned that that's probably not what I should do.
Oh, I see.
I
yeah.
see.
First will become last was like perfect timing for me.
Servant leader.
So glad that it hit home in such
Yeah.
an important area.
It was
of
the
your
day
life.
after the game, but
Yeah.
I'll take that into account next game. All right. So speaking of that, week 1, part 4, follow me. This is taking us right into Easter at the end of March or beginning of April. So Barry, can you kind of share what the big idea of your sermon was for week 1, part 4?
Yeah. So we talked again about one of the more important and consistent themes in the Gospel of Matthew. That is Jesus's constant inversion of the power dynamics of our world. He's constantly upending people's assumptions about what it means to lead, to be the Messiah, to even relate to your enemies. Like he just completely, constantly upends their thinking. And this was a perfect case in point because yet again, his disciples are wondering which of us is going to be the most important, who's going to be the big ones in your kingdom, your lieutenants. And Jesus basically says, you are getting it wrong. It is absolutely about who is willing to be a servant or a slave. That's who's going to be on top. Servant leaders are those. And then he talks about himself basically being the fulfillment of that idea by going to the cross and dying. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to become a ransom for many. And so basically Jesus, his approach to the true authority that he has at the end of the Gospel of Matthew was not through domination and power and fighting by the rules of the world. It was through self-sacrifice and self-giving love and surrender. And then biggest kind of takeaway is, and he expects his followers to take that same posture.
Yeah.
Among you, it will be different, is what he says.
I'm just not thinking about this. This is not in the list of questions I have, but now I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is this so surprising to the disciples every time? Like, I feel like they should have known by now, especially since we talk about it often. Like, they would have been familiar with the Old Testament and things like that. Like, throughout Scripture, I feel like this is in this passage in Matthew 20, he's saying something explicitly. We're going to Jerusalem. Here's what's going to happen. He's saying something explicitly that implicitly has been part of the story the entire time. Like when God chose his people, he chose a bunch of slaves in Egypt. When he picked a king, he picked a young shepherd boy.
Yeah, lastborn.
David, the prophets even were some shepherd. Like he never picked like the most powerful people to illustrate or to tell stories in the Old Testament. So like, shouldn't the disciples have been like, oh yeah, I saw where this was going. Like, now that you say that, I remember all the other times that this happened.
Yeah. I don't know. In their defense, the Old Testament also is constantly depicting the return of Israel's glory. Like the king will come and Israel will once again be free. Like the prophets are dreaming of this day where essentially God is ruling the world through Israel's chosen king, or through the chosen king. And so I think they're not, I mean, even him calling himself the Son of Man, that's the phrase he always uses to describe himself, that comes right out of Daniel 7. And it's basically an image of a human ascending to the right hand of the Father and essentially dominating all of the empires of the earth and like all of these big beasts that are trampling over humanity. And the Son of Man comes and they are finally put in their place. So, I don't think they understood that in the terms that Jesus was expecting them to understand it, So then he goes to the cross, and the passage right before the one we read, I read it in the message. Jesus spells it out explicitly, like I'm going to be found guilty by the religious leaders, and then the Romans, they're going to hand me over to the Romans, who will whip me, mock me, and crucify me, and then I'll rise again after 3 days. He says all that. I can only imagine the disciples were like, okay, they're going to try. They're going to try to do that to you. or that's where things are headed, but wait till we see the surprise that he has in store or something, you know?
Or we'll protect you.
Or
like
exactly.
Peter in the garden.
Right.
They're going to come for you, okay, but don't worry. We've got you. Swords drawn.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I try to think, okay, there's got to be a reason, because they can't just be, they're not idiots. I mean, they're knuckleheads. I don't think they're idiots. And so I think they're basing their understanding on all the stuff that all the stuff that they've been raised to believe since childhood.
Right. If they believed he was the Messiah, then what did they believe the Messiah would do?
Right.
Come and rescue them
I just
from
wish
oppression.
there was a part of Matthew where it had them saying that. Like, because I looked up Daniel 7 in preparing for this, and I was like, oh yeah, I can understand where someone, it says, I saw someone like a son of man coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient One and was led into his presence. He was, given authority, honor, sovereignty over all nations. So I can understand where you'd be like, all right, once we hear that Son of Man, like, it's on. But in Matthew 20, he says, even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and give his life for a ransom as a ransom for many. Right. I wish at that point, somewhere in Matthew, it was like, then the disciples had 100 questions.
Yeah, right.
Like, wait, that's not what Daniel 7 says. That's what do you mean he's going to serve others? Like, that's not what the Son of Man's supposed to do, according to what we know.
Right. Yeah, it's a great question. I wish I knew. They obviously get it eventually after the resurrection. But even then, after the resurrection, we got the two disciples on the road to Emmaus, and Jesus has to explain the Old Testament to them. Like, he has to explain, look, these are the narrative threads that lead to what just happened. It wasn't a surprise.
As a nod to last month, on the day of Pentecost, everything became clear to Peter. And he preaches with boldness, and he ties all the pieces together. And so really, like, the power of the Spirit is what made things make sense to them post-resurrection.
Yeah, if you read the book of Acts, within the book of Acts, I think there are 2, if not 3 speeches, one by Stephen, one by Paul, maybe a second one by Paul, where basically they lay out the entire storyline of the people of God And they're doing that to basically paint the picture of like, this is a fulfillment of the Old Testament. Like this is where things were always headed, but they have to give these speeches because people can't wrap their minds around it at all.
So in Matthew 20, Jesus tells his disciples exactly what's about to happen.
Yeah.
He says, we're going to Jerusalem where the Son of Man will be betrayed to the leading priests and teachers of the law. Then they will sentence him to die. Then they will hand him over to the Romans to be mocked, flogged with a whip, and crucified. But on the third day, he'll be raised from the dead. Then, as if he'd never said what he just said,
Right.
James and John's mom, it's literally like Jesus wraps that up, and the next word is, then James and John's mom came and asked him all these questions as if he had never said that. Like, I would have expected her to be like, can you clarify the whole part with the Son of Man being flogged or whatever? But no, she says she wants her sons to sit at the right and left hand of Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think the part of this that stands out to me the most is that when she approaches Jesus, Jesus asks her what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
He asks her what her request is. And her answer is to, like you talked about in your sermon, is to basically like play by the world's rules, vie for power for her sons.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that if Jesus ever asks me what I want, my answer would not be, hey, can you get my kids some power like you? But then I don't know if we're covering this in a couple weeks or not, but if you skip ahead to verse 32, okay, so we didn't go through this in the sermon, but I was reading in preparing for this. So Jesus just asked their mom what she wants. He asked, and and like you said, she's kind of in the inner circle.
Yeah.
Like she's been there.
She's
So
she's
what
been
is it
around.
you want? Skip down to verse 32, where two blind men start calling for Jesus. He asks them the same question. What do you want me to do for you? And it hit me that the disciples of the inner circle can see, like literally, physically, they can see. But spiritually, after all they've been through,
right.
they're still, they've got something over there, something that's blurring their vision. They've missed the whole point to this point. But the blind men, what they ask for is mercy, right? And so if Jesus ever asks me, what do I want? I hope it would be more in line with that than what their mom said. But I'm assuming that the blind guys, like, they're not sitting there asking every passerby for mercy. They're probably asking for like clothes or food or something.
Alms. Yeah.
But these blind men recognize their Messiah faster and more clearly than the disciples did, and they were with him for years, I think, right?
Yeah,
It's been years.
It's been years. Yeah.
So why do they literally never get it? But these blind guys, like, they got it.
Yeah. That's probably a question Matthew wants us to be asking.
Yeah.
I am interested. I'm gonna have to look, not right now, but I want to look at the Greek of the two verses and see how similar they are, because the NLT translates what is your request and what do you want me to do for you differently, but I'll look it up later. That's interesting.
New King James.
Anyways, there's probably unanswerable, but that's something that stood out to me. It never stood out to me that Jesus said to James and John, you don't know what you're asking. Like, I've read this passage before, but it basically never stood out to me that he was like, you don't even know what you're saying. Like,
Right.
you don't know what you're asking. And you did share, like, kind of what's up with this in his sermon, but what is the hidden thing that they didn't understand?
Right.
When he said, you don't even know what you're asking about the right and left hand.
Right,
Like,
right.
Explain a little bit more about.
Sure.
what that
I mean,
means.
the hidden thing is, like, you don't understand. If you want to be on top, that means dying
Yes.
to yourself. It means, like, literally dying and also figuratively dying to yourself.
Yeah.
Those on top in the kingdom are the ones on the bottom. And the Son of Man, the one who by definition is the one with all authority, is the one who gives the most away. And so he's like, you don't know what you're asking.
Yeah.
Because you really, you want to be on my right and left hand? Like, Matthew points out who's on his right and left side.
Yeah.
It's the crucified
Yeah, that's what I
criminals
never
next
even
to
thought
him.
about.
I didn't either until I was looking at her,
Yeah.
and I I got a passing comment and a commentary that I looked at, and I went and I looked at the Greek, and I was like, oh, it literally is the exact same words to the same accents. The only difference is that there's the possessive my in one of them and not the other.
Yeah, that was powerful. I never made that correlation before either.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So they wanted proximity to power, but not proximity to the suffering that Jesus knew came with his power.
Right. That's the whole drinking of the bitter cup, which again, there's going to be a whole message about the bitter cup here in a few weeks. But yeah, I mean, it's really fascinating. I think it's really, really interesting. Matthew is making it very clear. I mean, he was there. He watched this whole scene transpire, right? Yeah. So he's seeing this. And yeah, I mean, they don't know what they're asking. And yet Jesus says, but you will drink the bitter cup eventually. And he says that. He says, yeah, are you able to drink from the bitter cup of suffering I'm about to drink? And they say, oh yes, we are able.
So they knew what that meant.
Well, they think they know. They think they know what that. They think that. My guess, like shooting from the hip, but I would assume that what they think he means is, are you ready to go through the trials that we're about to go through as we take the hill and kick out the Romans? And they're like, yeah, we'll die with you. Like we're with you till the end, Jesus. Kind of, I bet, and he's like, you don't know what you're asking. And then he's like, well, you will drink this bitter cup. Because he knows their destiny. Yeah. He knows they will. I mean, Acts tells us that James, who became the leader of the Jerusalem church, that he actually ends up being executed by the religious leaders of Israel. So, I mean, his comes pretty close to Jesus's experience. And then John, we don't know exactly how he died, but church tradition is that he was persecuted by the Romans in Ephesus and possibly martyred there as well. So, yeah, and he might be the only one who died of natural causes, but he definitely got a lot of pain and suffering in his life because of his faith. So, ultimately, they will drink the bitter cup. But
I'm wondering if, I'm looking it up right now, if I were first century follower of Christ, would I associate the bitter cup with Passover and see it as some sort of pious thing? They have bitter herbs at Passover.
Sure.
And so when Jesus says, can you drink from this bitter cup? A devout follower would say, of course we can. Of course we can, do the rituals that you're asking us to do, or
Sure. They think it's some kind of metaphor. I mean, if they're really, really good Bible nerds, they would understand that the cup is a reference to the cup of God's wrath, which shows up in Jeremiah, shows up in the Psalms. It's a pretty consistent theme, but it's always those who are dead set against God's purposes who have to drink it. So again, we'll get into it in a few weeks, but maybe they're not making that connection. They think of it just as some sort of a metaphor for.
I'm just wondering why they'd say yes so quickly.
Yeah.
Why the enthusiasm?
Right. Well, they're probably like, yeah, we're qualified. Yeah, we're ready to be on your right and left.
Our mom says we are.
Mom believes in us. She says I'm the handsomest boy at school.
Verse 26, I'm looking at it. It says, whoever wants to be your leader among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must be your slave. I have two questions about this. Yeah. One, why do you think Jesus uses both servant and slave? Why not just use servant twice? Or why not use just slave twice? Is there a reason he basically repeats himself but uses two different words, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I poked around on that a little bit. The word for servant is like the word we get deacon from. That's like a form of serving others. But the word slave is doulos. It is slave. So it's possible that he's just raising the stakes. He's saying, got to be a servant. And everyone's like, whoa, that's a lowly position. And then he's like, if you want to be first, you got to be a slave. And there isn't anything lower in their day than a slave. You have no rights. You have no freedom. You're completely dependent on others for anything, your food, your shelter, and you have no recourse. There's nothing you can do about it. So being a slave is literally the worst possible thing imaginable. You could be a servant and be like a high-ranking servant to a king, and that has some status to it, even though you're subordinate. But if you're a slave, I guess there were a few slaves back then who were slaves to very, very famous or powerful people, and so they made a name for themselves. But those are the extreme exceptions to the rule. A slave and for most a servant, that was an extremely lowly thing. So maybe he's just adding up, making it more intense, or maybe it's something having to do with, if you want to, because again, he says, if you want to be a leader, he's really saying megas. If you want to be megas, if you want to be great, then you have to be a servant. And if you want to be protos first, then you have to be a slave. So I don't know.
Then I have another question about this. So when he says whoever wants to be great must be your servant, is he motivating ambition or dismantling it? Like you said that the concept of being a servant or being a slave was like super humiliating in the ancient world. So if that's true, I'm wondering who would have been motivated to be great when they heard this. Yeah. Obviously, like other than the ones with the boots on their neck,
Right.
if you hear it and you have the boots on your neck, you're like, great, I do want to be great. And I want the people with the boot on my neck to be less than or whatever. But it just had me thinking like the obvious audience for this message of like whoever wants to be great must be your servant. The obvious audience was the oppressed. How or why would this have been appealing to the oppressor when they heard him say this? Like, why would they have been like, yeah, we're in?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Or would they? I mean,
I mean, at some point, that an oppressor somewhere heard this message and was like, yes, because otherwise, I don't know. Like, there are people right now who are Christians that hear this message and it's like, I'm in. Like, I surrender my life to it. But they are not always the oppressed, archetype.
I think I'm trying to understand what you're saying. You're saying that to somebody who is oppressed, this would be received as good news as it pertains to, all right, high and mighty, if you want to follow the Christ, then you've got to get off your high horse and you need to become a servant. I guess in that case, it's good news. I keep thinking about the kingdom manifesto that we keep talking about, that as Matthew is recalling these events and writing them down, inspired by the Spirit, this is to inform what Christ's followers will look like, what the church will look like.
Right.
This is to be a hallmark of God's people. God's people are to be servants. God's people are not to, lord authority over others. But to become great, they have to become the last. The first will be last.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think.
Yeah, but you said that the concept of that was like the most humiliating thing in the ancient world.
Right.
So if that's true, and you have a bunch of people who are now being asked to not play by the world's rules, to go with this other anti-empire list of rules or beliefs, I could understand why the oppressed would want to do that. I cannot understand why the oppressors would eventually want to do that.
I think I probably slightly disagree with the idea that this would be a motivating message to the oppressed, because to the oppressor, you're right. I mean, to say you got to give up your power if you want to follow me, that's a hard sell. The rich young ruler walked away sad.
Yeah, right.
Right? Although I didn't even think he was a ruler. He was just rich, but he just walked away sad because he couldn't give it all up.
Yeah.
So that's obviously true. On the other hand, if you are oppressed in the first century, what is your heart's desire? Your heart's desire is to end the oppression, to rise up and be the one who's now has the power. Like that's what you would dream of. That's what every patriotic Israelite dreamt of, is that one day Jerusalem will be its own kingdom again. We will have the throne, that we will rule ourselves and have autonomy. So like, to be oppressed, I don't know that it's like, oh, good, we get to stay oppressed. Like, thanks, Jesus.
No, not oppressed, but like if I'm a servant or a slave already, it's like you're telling me I'm great.
Right.
Because
Like,
I'm already
because I'm
lowly.
already doing
You're
that.
already low. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But then the message is, but don't pick up the sword and go kill your slave master.
Yeah. Right.
And in fact, Paul even says, one of the most, nobody likes to talk about this passage today because of our perspectives on slavery, but Paul even says to Onesimus, or says to slaves, obey your masters and all that, like in, 1 Corinthians, where he's basically saying like, serve well in your lowly position, which is, again, it's very different than saying you don't have to be a slave anymore, pick up your sword and be free. So I'm not getting into like modern applications of slavery and abolition. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm just saying that in his day, he wasn't saying, and here's a ticket for the lowly to gain the power. It's something else entirely, which is provocative to everybody.
Which was essentially lead by example.
Yeah.
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 Wasn't Onesimus like to lead so that his owner or whatever would be led to Christ? Like, elsewhere it talks about letting your honorable behavior
be seen
by
yeah.
others, that they would also be led to Christ. So to
Right.
lead by example
Right.
in your lowly position,
Right.
doing whatever you do to the glory of God.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
Let's talk about servant leadership for a
Okay.
second. You illustrate that this isn't just what Jesus says to his followers, like that he embodied it through his death. So it made me think about the essence of a servant leader. And I had some people come to mind in my own life. I thought it was cool what we did in service to like
Yeah.
highlight a couple of servant leaders
That was really special
in our community.
Yeah.
But I also had people come to mind who kind of, you talked about it a little bit, like sold themselves as a servant leader, whether it's a politician, celebrity,
Rolling up their
pastor.
sleeves.
Yeah, they're servant. Yeah, right.
That's like the meme of like every politician when they want to do a town hall, they always have like their shirt
sleeves
sleeves
rolled
rolled
up,
up.
yeah.
Look at me, I'm just a working man.
Yeah,
You're just
got a hard hat with a shovel. And it turns out it was performative, right? There's been people who you're like, that's the guy or that's the girl, and they let you down. So how can we tell the difference between like a genuine servant leader and performative humility? And towards the end, you kind of list some things to look for in servant leaders, but how do we, like, what's the difference? Because a lot of us have been led astray by people we've thought are servant leaders, but turn out they're not. So what should we be looking for in a servant leader?
It's a great question. Let's talk about it. I think there are certain things that servant leaders do that would be very, very hard for someone who was actually in it for power and influence, like resist recognition for their actions, like both Amy and Grant that we talked about, like and honored them in our services. Both of them were mortified at having
They didn't know.
They didn't know, and it was
They
completely
did
a
not
surprise
know
to
that
them.
they were going to be honored.
And both of them were. I mean, they were embarrassed. They were honored. They felt honored. They felt really recognized and loved. But like, that's the last thing that either of them wanted at all. They don't want that kind of recognition. I think if you find someone who looks like they're really serving, but then is hungry and eager for that, I want that praise. Like I'm here to get noticed that I did that thing for that person. Like that maybe is a one little indicator of like, is this real servant leadership or is this performative? That's just one idea that comes to mind, is that how much of a hunger is there for recognition and how much of their posture is actually one of kind of trying to hide from the spotlight.
Yeah.
And-
Or another way of saying that is humility.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Does this person exemplify, do they exude humility? Do you see that in that person? Do they have a track record of servant leadership? You can be a servant leader and be a brand new Christian. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But over time, when you look over this person's life, what fruit have they borne from their life? And are they humble?
Also, go ahead.
I thought there was something that was interesting. At least one of the questions Amy asked during the 11 o'clock service about Grant was like, tell us what Grant has sacrificed. Like, I feel like that's a part of it too, especially when you look at performative behavior. It's what burdens has this person or these people carried on behalf of others? Because if you say Jesus embodied this through death, like that's a pretty significant burden that he carried for other people.
Whose cross are they helping to carry?
Yeah. Who has been made vulnerable to being taken advantage of or misunderstood or misrepresented? Like, I think that's a part of it too. Like your vulnerability, opening yourself up to criticism or attack or unappreciated or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the part about Grant and Amy is like they didn't want the spotlight, but they were vulnerable. They made themselves vulnerable to being. It's not because they it's not like a false humility thing. It's like they've made themselves vulnerable when you're serving behind the scenes. They've made themselves vulnerable to being unappreciated,
Right.
and so when you see someone be like, I don't want to do that, it's not because like there are some people that's like, no, I don't want to be front and center. But when they are front and center, it's like, well, you kind of wanted that.
Sure.
But I think a sign of a
yeah.
servant leader is just somebody that if you've opened yourself up to being misunderstood or attacked or unappreciated,
Yeah.
it's a good sign.
Yeah. And to be clear, like it's okay to be honored and to feel honored by being honored. Like that's not wrong. Like they didn't do anything wrong by being moved by being honored in service. It's just that that's not what they were seeking. That's not why they're doing what they're doing. Another way of looking at it is look, who are the people that serve, that lead, that help with no guarantee of any sort of benefit from the actions that they're taking.
Yeah.
So for example, serving a community that can't pay you back isn't going to, like someone who spends time serving in a nursing home, elderly memory care kind of areas, like you're not going to get the recognition for that kind of work. That is hard work behind the scenes and you won't be recognized for it. That's the kind of thing that's a servant leader would do. Also,
And-
like things like loving your enemies. Sometimes
Yeah, yeah.
servant leaders will choose to offer grace and compassion and mercy towards people that will never reciprocate.
Yeah.
That will hate
that's
them
the other part
in
of
response. Like that's a choice. I mean, if all we ever do is love the people who loved us back, or that like are going to turn around and then we're going to, have some kind of a famous, reconciliation that people are going to see. Like, I don't know, if that's the only thing we're working for, then we're really not working for obedience to the teachings of Jesus.
I was going to say that's the other part of it. It's like, not only will you serve people and probably not get recognition for it, but you'll serve people who might actually betray you themselves.
Yeah.
They might steal from you. They might lie to you. They might
Absolutely.
whatever. And those are the people that you're called to serve.
Right.
Because again, if Jesus embodied this, like we all do that to him. If he embodies servant leadership, like he is taking on the risk that he will be betrayed. He will be lied to. He will be misunderstood. And so if we are called to do that as well, that comes with the territory. It has to cost something.
Right.
It sounds like you're describing a servant leader as somebody who exhibits the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
What we were just talking about is long suffering. Another word for that is patience. But yeah, opening yourself to vulnerability, forgiving your enemies, all that stuff, that's long suffering. How can you identify somebody who's a servant leader? Show me the fruit. Are they exhibiting and are they distributing the fruit of the Spirit?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll be clear. I don't think it's not a foregone conclusion that every servant leader is going to be unknown and have no platform or have no, like there can be, but what often happens, and there have been entire podcasts dedicated to this idea, is people whose platform outpaces their character.
Yes.
And they become, they gain authority and power and they have not yet earned sort of in the kingdom economics, they haven't earned the right to have such a platform because they haven't actually done the work of servant leadership. And so, yeah, that's the problem that we fall into.
All right, here's where we get dicey.
Oh, let's go.
All right, at the end of your sermon, you gave a warning and an encouragement.
Yeah.
The warning was, watch out for human power masquerading as God's power. So let's start there. How do we practically do that in our own lives? Like, what are we looking out for? Or like, when we see it, what do we do?
Yeah.
You know, like, I'll start there.
Yeah, it's a good question. The hard part is that you don't always know when someone says their motivation for doing X, Y, Z is because of Jesus. Like you don't actually know what their heart is. They may not even know what their real heart is, but they're saying the right things. And so you have to look at behavior and look at what they're saying and look at what they're standing for and really constantly evaluate, do these person's actions actually reflect the values of Christ's kingdom, which are laid out very clearly throughout the Gospel of Matthew? Like, is this a platform of compassion? Is this a platform of setting yourself aside for the sake of those that don't deserve it? Is this a platform of loving your enemies? Are you seeing that behavior in the person that you're listening to? Because if not, then pay really close attention to what they're saying and be very, very cautious, because you can do all kinds of horrible things and slap a coat of Jesus paint over top of it, and then you end up as a whitewashed tomb. I mean, we're gonna go there in a couple weeks. Maron's preaching about whitewashed tombs.
Can't wait.
So I mean, I think a part of it is, you really gotta pay attention to the actions and the words of the people, not just whether or not they've got the right bumper stickers on their car or the right, hashtags on their Instagram post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to understand what the kingdom looks like.
Yeah.
This is a kingdom manifesto.
Right.
I'm in a missiology class right now about the mission of God, and they like to reframe in this class that word kingdom as the rule of God.
Yeah.
Right? Kingdom has too much baggage.
Sure.
in
Medieval
our,
knights. And,
exactly.
Yeah, right.
Kings and queens and
Right.
royalty. And no, the rule of God.
Mm-hmm.
In God's economy,
Mm-hmm.
what does power look like?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we keep calling it an upside down kingdom?
Mm-hmm.
I just think we need regular, constant reminders of these principles
Yeah.
as laid out by Jesus
Yeah.
in the book of Matthew and elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
These characteristics of the kingdom, like servant leadership,
Mm-hmm.
that's upside down.
Yeah.
The first will be last and the last will be first.
Right.
Loving your enemy,
Right.
doing good to those who curse you or
Yeah.
hate you, all that stuff. We just need constant reminders that
Right.
that's actually the rule that we are a part of.
Right. And it's too confusing to do this, so we're not going to do this, but it would almost make sense to flip the language around and refer to the values of our world as the ones that are upside down. Like the right side up kingdom is actually the kingdom that Jesus is leading. Like that's the right side up. We're the ones that are twisted, get things so mixed up from what God desires. So but I agree with you. If you don't know, if you're not familiar with what this kingdom looks like,
I think a lot of people think the kingdom looks like a bumper sticker.
right,
That's all they know of the kingdom.
right,
Study to show yourself approved. That's
Right.
what we're doing here by trying to dissect the Gospel of
Yes.
Matthew and show the kingdom manifesto that it is,
right,
the description of the actual kingdom
Right.
that we are supposed to swear our allegiance to, that we're supposed to be agents of
Right.
in this world.
right.
You got to know what kingdom.
Right.
Oh, Bob Dylan said you're going to have to serve somebody. What kingdom are you serving?
Interesting. One of the things I don't do much because I don't want to further muddy the waters, but I found sometimes in this topic, when talking about the kingdom of God, I like sometimes referring to it as the empire of God, only because
Empire Strikes Back.
exactly, but only because like we're used. Kingdom has so many, like you said, it's got so many different meanings, and we have different thoughts. But like empire, that conveys more of that sort of aggressive, forceful. To me, it does. Maybe it's because I spend all my time reading about empires, but to me, empire has that kind of like ambitious, like we're gonna rule everything. We're not just a kingdom. We're a king of kings. Like we are the ruler over kingdoms. That's what Darius was saying on the best inscription. You know, I'm the king of kings. That's where that phrase comes from. And I think I don't actually know where that originally started from. I know it's in the Bible, but I don't know where it. Maybe it's probably an old Hittite saying or something. Anyway, but yeah, it's. That's, to me, it makes the idea of God having an empire of his own as something that really invites a lot of reflection and conversation. Like, okay, so if God has an empire, then what does that empire look like?
Yeah.
You know, and Jesus is constantly talking about in the empire of God, the poor are blessed. In the empire of God, you're really blessed if you're persecuted. Like that kind of thing, it takes work to wrap your mind around it because it's not the way that we think in our world. It's not the rules of our day-to-day lives.
All right. We're running out of time, and this question may need to get cut because it's a don't get fired question.
I won't fire you.
But I need to ask it because if Jesus' kingdom operates differently, like we've been talking about, it's upside down. We've been talking about it. Operates completely different than the principles of the world or worldly kingdoms. Why do we keep seeing Christians trying to build God's kingdom using worldly methods?
Yeah.
It's not new, by the way. This is you talk about all the time, when Christianity became the official religion of
Yeah,
Rome,
yeah.
when it became illegal to not be a Christian,
Yep.
when we became the seat of power,
Right.
when it was church from the center, not what we see in the New Testament is church on the margins, right? Church on the margins, speaking words of truth, but of comfort, but to one another, but not from a place of central power. I think what you just described, using worldly methods, has been happening since Christianity became the law of the land and kind of tied with centralized power.
So
or
do we
whatever.
just not get it, or
No, I think the church is being decentralized. I think it's moving. It's been on a move from the center back toward the margins where it originated. Anyway,
you think it's going back to the margin?
I do.
I think if you call the merger of Christianity and Rome, if you call that Christendom as a global phenomenon is beginning to disintegrate. So I completely agree with Maron. And I agree that the gospel is flourishing on the margins again.
Yeah.
And in many ways, I think that's kind of the point, and that's the way it's supposed to be. I think it's fascinating to look at church history and think about the fact that like things got really muddy and confusing the moment that church and state became one thing. And so I think in our modern world, what's so challenging is we are people who've lived in a world, at least Western Europeans and Americans, like we've lived in a world where for 1,500 years, the church and the state have been in cahoots together, if not the exact same thing. So for us to like disentangle that idea, it is very challenging, especially because there are some in the evangelical church. Here's me not wanting to get fired, but I'm just going to say it. There are some in the evangelical church who have a narrative that sees the American empire as the equivalent one-to-one with the kingdom of God. Like we are this Christian nation. That's the narrative. And I just like, I can't disagree more fully. Like, yeah, there's some Judeo-Christian values at work in our Constitution and our culture for sure. Like you can't deny that, but man, saying that America is the kingdom of God, like that narrative doesn't hold water as far as I'm concerned.
I'm saying we have always, since Christianity became the law of the land, we have always used worldly methods
Right.
to try to advance the kingdom,
Right.
in this sign conquer,
Absolutely.
Anyway, it's nothing new. But if we can become students of history and see where we've gotten it wrong in the past, maybe we could keep from getting it wrong right now.
Yeah.
Or getting it wrong in the future.
I guess I just need to know more about that because I don't know anything about church history or anything like that. So
The number of official apologies that had to have been issued by the church at large, we're sorry for the way we swept in and eradicated your whole culture and your whole society, and we apologize.
Yeah.
We've come to that place after centuries and centuries of being the arm of power,
Right.
marching in as the army of God. On the flip side of that, we realize, okay, that was not compassionate. That was not the kingdom as we see described in the New Testament. That's not the kingdom that Jesus laid out for us.
Yeah.
And we're going to apologize for the mistakes of our ancestors, the mistakes of our past.
Right.
I have a feeling we're going to be doing more apologizing in the future.
yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, we don't have to get too nerdy into the history, and I know you're probably now stressing about time, but real quick, one of the branches of the church that split off relatively early on and essentially just died was the Church of the East. That's the church that was planted in Persia. That church was doing what the church does best, which is moving on the margins and just like transforming society from beneath. And there were Christian communities all over Persia, well, Parthia at the time. And like things were going great in a ways, you could say. It was what the church is meant to do, working to kind of establish communities across the empire. But then Byzantine Christianity, ruling from Constantinople, the Byzantine Empire became Christian, and now we had the Romans, as they were referred to by the Persians, we're now Christians. It's 1-to-1. And they started picking fights with Persia, with Parthia, and they were invading back and forth, and they became like the Byzantine Empire's mortal foe. They were constantly having wars back and forth, and they would be taking hostages and taking slaves from the Persians. And so what did the Persians do? They turned the screws and persecuted the Church of the East almost into non-existence. And so, man, suddenly you've got Byzantine Christians going on holy war against the Parthians, while the organic grassroots movement of the gospel was being strangled by persecution that was directly resulting from Byzantine power. So I'm just like, I look at that and I think, oh, what if? What if? Like, what if they hadn't? What if it hadn't? What if it had gone another way? And and it's just this is my biggest thing that I think about. Related to ministry of all. So don't get me started, but you did get me started.
I did.
You did, but I'll stop.
The second thing that you said as encouragement, follow the servant leaders in your life.
Yeah.
And I don't really have a question about this, but I did, I do have a question about this, but we don't need to talk about it. The question was, okay, I have identified servant leader. Now what do I do? Do I go up to them and say, show me your ways? Or like, what do I do when I see a true servant leader? And as I was thinking about that, I thought I wanted to share this on the podcast. The idea of control and like desire for power is something that I have personally always struggled with. I like being in control. I trust myself more than I trust anyone else.
Yeah.
So one thing that I've done, in this, when I've notice myself struggling, is I ask myself, I don't do this all the time, but when I notice myself struggling with the idea of human power masquerading as God's power, and also like following servant leaders or like understanding what that is, something I've done is at the end of each day, I will ask, today, where did I reach for control? Where did I choose service? And I write that down, or I just think about it, and that has helped me. Another thing that I've done before that this may help friends of the pod is I've made 2 lists. List 1, where do I have power? So family, friendship groups, at church, at work, like where are all the places I believe I have some semblance of power? And then list 2 is how am I using that power? Write it down. How are you using that power in your family? Are you using it to serve someone else, or are you using it to serve yourself? And those 2 things have helped me understand what it means to, or the impact it has on my life when I like conflate human power for God's power. And then it helps me to understand like how to become a better servant leader, hopefully. So if I didn't really want to talk, like, we're running out of time, so I didn't want to like ask questions about that, but that was just something that I thought would be helpful as a practical thing. Because when you were like encouragement, follow the servant leaders, I was like,
but how
follow
do we
them to where? And
Right.
like, what do we do short of walking up to them and just saying, help me, you know? So
Emulating what you see in them.
yeah.
What fruit of the Spirit do they have that you want more of?
Yeah.
Maybe ask them about it. Maybe they'll have words to express it. Maybe they won't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the natural outflow of their relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
But
Like if I went up to Grant Gwaltney and was like, show me your ways,
Yeah.
he'd be like,
how do I embody
Right,
your
but-
degree of long suffering?
But like you could go up, not you probably because you work at the church, but like if you were just an average congregant, not super involved, you could go up to Grant Gwaltney and be like, hey, could I shadow you at your small group? I just want to see what that's like. Or do you need a small group co-leader that I can kind of just come and learn from you?
Yeah.
You can get in the trenches with them. That's an option. And most servant leaders would probably feel really first surprised, but also pretty honored by the request. Like, you want to learn from me? Like what?
yeah.
Or at the very least, can we have coffee?
Yeah. Can we get
Just
coffee?
tell
Can
me
I
about
pick
your
brain?
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll hear in somebody's story how their heart was shaped the way that it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll learn more about them and what makes them tick.
Where do we go next, Barry? What are we going to do?
Well, it's you, right?
It better not be.
No. Who's next? It's not me. That's all
That
I know.
has to
I
be
think
a
it's
sound
Amy.
clip.
I think
It's
it's
Amy on
That has
the
to be a
15th,
sound
yeah?
clip. Let's cut that.
Yeah. It better not be me. Sorry.
Did all the blood just like drain from your body?
No, don't worry. You're fine. And worst case scenario, no, we'll be fine. It's the greatest commandment. That's what's next. I think Amy's preaching on the greatest commandment.
So she'll be in here next week.
She will be.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have been more prepared for that question. You always ask it, and I just
You have 36 hours to get ready.
to whip something together, whip something up.
Yeah. Amy gets the greatest commandment.
What do you get?
The whitewashed tombs.
I mean, I apologize.
Cool
Again,
stuff.
trying to fit all of Matthew into, and we have not done a sermon on Jesus's takedown of the religious leaders. It has
gotta
to
do
be.
it.
We got to do it, and
Get
it's an
'em.
entire chapter, all
Get
of
'em.
chapter 23.
Get him, Jesus.
Go
Yep.
get them. So that'll
All
be in
right.
2
So
weeks.
we'll get Amy in here and see you next week. Maron, will you please send us out?
I will. Do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
And we'll see you on the other side of Sunday.